Sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening,
Hope
sir.
all our participants are doing really good, and we are very much happy to have you all once again over here in this third day's journey towards exploring NCF completely. And let me introduce to you all the resource persons of the day. Firstly, I would like to introduce to you all who doesn't need a very big introduction, being the resource person of SNTTC, that is none other than Mrs. Ashwini Srinivasan, a math and English facilitator from Bangalore, Shri Sharda Vidyalaya. She is working in Shri Sharda Vidyalaya, and she is also a resource person as well as soft skill trainer of SNTTC. Next, I would like to move on to Mrs. Jyoti Iyer, who is the regional coordinator for Hyderabad's SNTTC wing, and she is an English facilitator. She has a vast experience of working with renowned CBSE schools of Hyderabad as well as Gujarat. And then ma'am has chosen to be a content writer for renowned companies as well. Now, ma'am is completely into the profession of being a trainer. Welcome, ma'am. Next, moving on, I would like to take the pleasure of introducing to you all Mrs. Saima Siddiqui, a middle school headmistress of the renowned Sagar Public Schools of Madhya Pradesh. Ma'am is also a resource person at SNTTC. And thank you, ma'am. Thank you for being here today. A warm welcome to you. Next, I would like to introduce to you all Mrs. Abhilasha, headmistress for nursery to grade 5. Ma'am is basically from Chennai. She is working for a renowned school in Chennai as a headmistress. She is also a resource person in SNTTC as well as All India Educators Forum. Welcome, ma'am. Yeah, thank you. Now, I would like to take the pleasure of introducing to you all the next resource person of today's session, that is Mrs. Jayavani Jayaraman, who is basically from Tamil Nadu. She is also a geography and history PGT facilitator from a renowned group of schools of Chennai. Thank you to all resource persons for being over here today. And let me extend my warm welcome to all the participants of the day. Now, without taking much time, let us dwell into today's session. And I would like to hand over the mic to Mrs. Ashwini Srinivasan, the first resource person of the day.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir. So here, the part C, that is on the third day, we are going to look into school subjects. We are not going to look into the complete part C. Half we will see today and half will be discussed tomorrow. So our first chapter in this is learning in foundational stage. Next slide, sir. Okay. Here, the chapter 1 is learning in the foundational stage. What will be the foundational stage and what will be the age group here? Can I get answer from participants? Okay, sir, we'll move to next slide. Okay, here comes learning in the foundational stage. Here, the age group is between 3 to 8 years. That is, it is from pre-nursery, that is pre-KG to second standard. Here, main areas of focus is, first one is physical development. What is physical development? Which involves the students to do motor skills or body coordination. So this physical development is crucial for children as it lays the groundwork for their overall growth, health, and learning. So here, in this physical development, we can take the children for gross motor skills like balance and coordination activities, locomotor skills, and strength and endurance. In the fine motor activities, that is, we make the children to focus on the smaller movements, particularly in the hands and fingers. So how they will write and draw, how they will hold the object, how they will take an object, how they will take self-care of themselves. This is physical development. And the next comes is cognitive development. What is cognitive development? According to you, what is cognitive development, dear participants?
Ma'am, working on the thought process of the children.
Working on the thought process of the children. Yes, Meenu ma'am, you're right. Okay, here cognitive development is cognitive development involves significant changes in how children think, understand, and learn about the world around them. So during this period, that is during the foundational stage, children crucial skills will be like problem solving, language memory, like alphabets and the numbers and all they learn in this stage, and it is going to be repeated, and they have to keep it in their mind till the entire life. In that way, language memory and reasoning. So here comes in cognitive development, first one is language and communication development, where in language and communication development it is to vocabulary expansion, understanding and following the instructions given by the teachers or the parents, and conversational skills according to their languages, how they are going to converse with their friends or family members, or how it is. And here the next one can be problem solving and critical thinking. At this stage, they will first step will be like trial and error. They will try whether what they are doing can be right or wrong. And next one, like simple reasonings, problems from mathematics like addition or subtraction, like that. Classifying and sorting. Here cognitives in this classifying and sorting, they learn about shapes and categories and organize informations in and around them. And memory development like short-term memory and long-term memory, imagination and creativity. What is imagination and creativity in this stage will be? Any guesses?
I'm
Okay,
basically
here
giving them exposure wherein they can, discover their creativity, like playing, providing them with clay and all this, so that, and like more of
exactly,
the
ma'am. Yes,
puzzles
you're
and
right, Meenu, ma'am. So first comes here is symbolic thinking. Here children use object to represent something else. Like when we show a shape of rectangle, they can lift a book and show it to us in that way. And then role playing method, like dramas, how they can show out their emotions, social roles, etc. And creativity, when we ask them to draw a picture of park, how creative they are, how they use in the imagination, how they draw. And concentration and attention span, here they have sustained attention and selective attention. Like sustained attention is for puzzle games, and selective attention is for the information and learning what they learn around the environment. And then concept development, like number and counting, how they count the numbers, understanding simple math concepts. And next one will be like shapes and spatial. Here it is awareness around them, which are the shapes, how are the shapes, which shapes relate to which part, in that way. And time and sequence. And the next one is socio-emotional development. What is socio-emotional development?
To build the relation.
To build the relation. Okay. Right, Samriti ma'am. Okay. Socio-emotional development is emotional regulation and empathy. So here in this development, children is critical for shaping how to interact with others, and how to manage their emotions, and to develop their sense for themselves, self for oneself. During this period, children from the foundational of their social skills, emotionally understanding and self-regulations, which are essential for later relationships and emotional well-being. Here it comes like emotional awareness and expression, which involves identifying emotions like whether, for example, as soon as we get into the home in our early childhood, what we used to do, we seek for our mother, where is she? As soon as seeing our mother, we can identify whether she is happy or sad, like that. So here, identifying emotions by seeing people's face or something, expressing feelings, like whether the particular child or person is happy or sad, like that. Emotional regulations, while they start to manage their emotions, it can be challenging, learning to control impulses or express feelings constructively. And self-concept and self-esteem, here children develop a clearer sense of identity, learning what makes them unique, like preferences, what is their strength and what is their weakness, etc. And empathy and understanding others, that is how they are going to share feelings of others, begins to develop in the foundational stages, like perspective taking. Children starts to understand that others have thoughts. And so 1 minute, previous slide, sir. Okay, learning approach. In this learning approach, first method is of play-based method and on activities. Play-based method is like how by giving them indoor and outdoor activities, how they learn. And on activities is giving them some activities and checking their creativity levels. Encourages curiosity and discovery through interactions and giving them some role play, that sort of activities, and encouraging them to come out of their fear and making them to do things and making them to interact with other people. Next is activity, that is learning through play. Learning through play is like in the Montessori classes, we have pink tower, shapes from big to small, small to big. In that way, how we can make the activities to make them understand the things. Sir, next slide, sir. Okay, here comes the next one is language development. It focuses on literacy in home language, that is R1. What is their mother tongue or home language? Introduction of R2 and R3 languages later. So language development involves communication, interaction. So here it is mostly important in listening, speaking, writing, reading in their language and the language given in the schools. Like English is a first language, Kannada or Hindi, according to their states. And numeracy skills. What is numeracy skills? Counting, understanding numbers, basic operations. So to count numbers from forward, from backward, and understanding numbers, basic operations like addition, subtraction, etc. Here it develops a basic understanding of numbers, counting, measurement, patterns, and problem solving. At this age, children learn through and on experiences, play, real world interactions that allow them to build foundational mathematics like numbers identification, counting, and understanding quantities and amount, which has to be said in liters, which has to be said in grams, which has to be said in capacities, in that way. And basic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Understanding patterns and sequences. Here the child red blue means again it is going to be red blue, in that way. Simple patterns like alternative colors, and extending patterns like recognizing how patterns repeat and predict what comes next. And use of toys, puzzles, and manipulatives. Use of toys in the sense, toy is not only to play. From that toys, what they learn. For example, giving sum of toys to child and asking the child to count how many toys are there. Number of toys, count and tell me. Puzzle to do some activities or join the puzzles from 1 to 10, in that way. And assessment, here also no formal exams. Here the child of preschool, they don't have exams. That is qualitative teacher observation and informal assessment. How we will assess the child here is the same formative assessment and summative assessment. But the thing is, in the formative assessment, observation and anecdotal records are maintained to assess a child. And in the summative assessment, developmental checklist, screening tools are used to assess the child, like motor language, motor skills, socio-emotional skills, etc. Brief assessment to identify any potential development delays or areas needing additional support. Where a child is lagging, there we can give more support to the child, and we can assess the child one more time. Here we come to the end of this point, that is chapter 1, learning in foundational stage. Thank you, sir, for giving me this opportunity. Any doubt in this chapter, dear participants? Is there any preschool teachers? Do you have any doubt in this part?
No, ma'am. It's clear.
Thank you, everyone. I now request Jyoti ma'am to.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mrs. Ashwini Srinivasan. That was really a wonderful insight that was given in a crisp and clear manner, as to, bring out the complete gist of the chapter into 2 slides, and wonderfully you have put forth all the points that are very much importantly to be noted by all educators. Now it's time that we go into the next chapter of part C, that is language education. And I believe no one else other than Mrs. Jyoti Iyer can do this in a better manner as to give you all the gist about this. Yeah, the stage is all yours, Mrs. Iyer.
Thank you, sir. So I'm back. I have a running bet that our section is going to be the most interactive. So let's see if you make us win our subject, right? All my language teachers there. And when I say language, I don't just mean English, although I am an English teacher. We are all one family, right? So just before I start, I wanted to say one thing, which is language, even NCF says this, is a rule-based system, right? We have rules, we have grammar rules, things like that. But along with that, it is also an evolving system. So NCF actually makes it a point to mention that in spite of teaching the rules to children, we should also be very aware of the evolving nature of language, and we should evolve along with language in order to stay in touch, in order to make sure that we are not promoting like a dead language, right? So keeping that in mind, before I start with the goals put down here, can I ask my language teachers to tell me what are the basic goals of language? Why do we use language? Not even as a subject in school, generally, what is the purpose of language?
To convey our thoughts.
Correct, to convey our thoughts. For communication, yes.
To communicate.
Sorry?
To communicate.
To communicate. So language is nothing but a way to talk to another person or to write to another person, and to be able to understand when another person talks, and to be able to understand when you're reading something somebody else has written, right? So that's, as you know, the 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So when we keep that in mind, we are skills to express. Yes, Vasuki. So what happens is, when that happens, when we keep that in mind, it becomes very easy for us to understand the other goals of education. So here we are talking about not just language, not the goals of language per se, but language education. Why are we teaching children various different languages? Well, the goals, like it says here, is to develop critical thinking and analytical abilities as well, apart from the LSRW skills, because we need to understand what the language is doing, correct? Then there is encouraging students to express ideas clearly in multiple languages. This is why we have a 3-language system, right? Where we talked in detail yesterday about the R1, R2, and R3, which, by the way, NCF does mention that by grade yes, language does give us confidence as well. So how do we transfer that confidence onto children? By grade 3, we expect a child to be fluent in R1, which is your medium of instruction. Your R2 should be, the child should be fluent by grade 6, and R3 by grade 9 at the least. So keeping that in mind, we are talking about now multilingualism. Why do we need multilingualism? I think as Indians, most of us are multilingual, right? Even when the child comes to us at 3 years of age, most children at least speak 2 languages, or at least understand 2 languages for sure. And I don't think we need to justify why multilingualism is necessary, because there's a reason Indians and Indian brains are sought after everywhere in the world, right? So keeping that in mind, yes, it provides for improved memory, problem solving, and social interaction. And students, since by grade 10, ideally they should learn at least 3 languages very well, but 2 languages are like thoroughly fluent. Because of that, it also, because you're learning at least 2 Indian languages, we incorporate the cultural richness of the Indian literature and folklore as well, along with the other aspects of language. Yes, dual language also helps us to understand the topic. So this we will mostly be dealing with in the foundational stage, where we will sometimes need to translate, help the child get accustomed to the language that you are dealing with. Coming to, sir, next slide. Coming to the, I talked about what languages, what are the aims, but how do we put it in practice? That's the most important thing probably, right? So the pedagogical approaches in language education. We need to know what is the idea behind this pedagogy, right? What are the ideas informing this pedagogy? 3 main things, and if we keep these in mind, we'll be able to easily understand the logic behind all the things that we are going to talk about later. One is, we are not aiming for language acquisition, we are aiming for language learning. Just to quickly give you an example, whenever it is that you learned your mother tongue, like as a baby, I don't think any of us learned it by your mother saying, you know, beta, this is mama and mama is a noun. Nobody did that, right? We don't learn language with rules. We acquire language by hearing and just kind of copying in the beginning, right? That is language acquisition, where the learning of language happens naturally in a natural environment. But that's not the case with our school environment. It is a very deliberate language learning. That is why us as teachers, we need to make sure that we are able to transfer the knowledge that we have to the children and create an atmosphere where they also are able to learn the language as easily as they acquired their mother tongue. Okay. Coming to equal importance to reading and comprehension, basically this talks about how it's not only the passive skills that are important, but also the active skills. Only then only if you comprehend properly, you will be able to then write properly. Only if you comprehend when listening properly, you will be able to speak properly. Finally, sustained practice is key. Obviously, this is age-wise. It's not a generalized thing. You're not going to tell a 12th grader to recite the ABCD, right? Coming to the various LSRW skills, I'm just going to quickly cover vocabulary first, because it's kind of the first thing that us language teachers like to say. Oh, he's written everything well, but the vocabulary needed to be better, right? So let's talk about how we can help make that a reality. At a younger age, word games, word building, we can do. Once they start reading fluently, dictionary usage can be a very important part. Then there's also, many of us do this, right? Even within this NCF training, I have myself picked up a few words, and I consider myself well-spoken, but I've picked up a few words. So we hear the words, we understand the meaning, but we don't really use them, right? That is passive vocabulary. The vocabulary we have, but we don't use them. So we need to help children start using them in speech first. Once they get comfortable, they should start using them in writing. And that you will be able to do only if you create that connection with the child and you are very aware of which child is at what vocabulary level. Reading, probably the most common suggestion given by all language teachers: read more, then you'll be able to write better. You'll be able to speak better. And finally, one thing that we often ignore, the moment a child often says that, I don't know the meaning of this, look up a dictionary. No, try to figure it out also. That helps the child understand and remember the meaning longer. So contextual meaning prediction, and then of course later look up in a dictionary. So those are the vocabulary skills. Coming to listening and speaking, most of these are kind of overlapping. That's why I put them together. There'll be audiovisual material that you use. Text and literature, we also need to let children listen to these. We often just give them a book. Sometimes some children are audio visual learners, right? Help them with that as well. Now we have the technology. We didn't have it when we were young. Let's use the technology we have, right? Third thing, discussions, debates, reviews. When I say reviews, this could even be movie reviews. It doesn't matter because it's a language. You're learning the language through the review as well, right? Next is club-based activities, assemblies, celebrations, summarization, all of these things. Summarization, I would like to just take a half a second to explain that. Many times we have children in our class who hesitate to speak up. In that case, if you've asked a question and 5 children have said various answers, you can ask that child who's a little hesitant to just repeat or summarize what everyone said. That gives them the confidence to speak. Taskin ma'am, I believe, was talking about confidence. That helps the underconfident child kind of rise up to everyone's level. So that's a skill that we as teachers can keep in mind. Coming to reading, library time, extremely important. And we also talk about various kinds of reading activities. I'll mention those in the next slide in more detail. I want to focus on the second point here, which is functional, literary, critical, and pleasure reading. Let's understand the difference there. Functional reading is basically when you're reading for a specific purpose. I'm reading a letter. I want to find out what's happening in the letter. I'm reading like a memo. What's the message? I want to find out. So that is functional. I'm reading for a specific purpose. Literary reading is when you're reading something like a poem, for example, or a beautiful piece of fiction. I am reading it for the beauty of the language, correct? There's no function as such. Then there is critical reading, where I am trying to understand what the author's purpose is, what the various aspects of the language would be, what even something like who might be the audience for this kind of writing. So there you are not just reading what is written, you are trying to analyze it. And finally, reading for pleasure. If we as language teachers have done our job, the child should be able to and should be willing very happily to read for pleasure on their own. Finally, book clubs, plays, and even folk music helps children gain the habit of reading, because often folk music is performed in a group, right? And then when you read the lyrics, you realize, oh, this is what it meant. And there's so much beauty in the language there as well. And here I would like to remind you all that even dialects are equally important, right? We talked about this yesterday. Finally, coming to writing, the first stage of writing is speaking, because as you know, both speaking and writing are productive skills. We are creating something. The first stage, like I said, is speaking. You have to model the writing. Second thing that NCF focuses on, and I'm personally very passionate about this, where when we were young, we used to be told, here is an essay on, say, myself. Now go write an essay on my mother. Whatever you write, the teacher will check it and give her comments, and you are never going to rewrite it. But NCF specifically talks about writing in drafts. Give the feedback and then expect the child to write it again. so that they can make other mistakes, but they will be new mistakes. The old mistakes are not repeated and they learn from their mistakes. And that feedback is a very important, that feedback loop is very important. Finally, here I'm not going to repeat myself, but you remember the functional and literary functions of reading. Those will be the only two covered in writing section or according to the NCF. We will not be doing critical or pleasure writing. Coming to the assessment, obviously they are based on these pedagogy. You can't teach something and assess something else, right? So just want to add a few things that are important here. One is that the creative, we need to be creative with our assignments, and we need to focus on oral assessment, because I think especially in CBSE, there was a little bit of too much focus on the written aspect of language. We need to keep in mind that there has to be an equal emphasis given to oral assessment, so that we assess the child's listening and speaking skills as well. And finally, there should be emphasis on communication, not just grammar and vocabulary, because again, same thing. If there's no emphasis on communication, it'll just be a child who knows like a million words, but can't really hold a conversation. And that's most important. Like we said, multilingualism is important. So a child should be able to hold a conversation with anyone in at least 2 languages, hopefully 3, right? Okay, next slide, sir. Yeah, how do we achieve these things? Just quick review. I think you all know these. You can take a screenshot if you like, but I'll just quickly read through it. If anyone has a doubt about, you know, what this particular thing means, I have no clue what this is, just ask me. Otherwise, I'm just going to read through them. Oral language development, for that, we do picture conversations, we share experiences, we do storytelling. By the way, the storytelling can be from the teacher or the student as well. There's drama, there's role play. With word recognition, there is phonological awareness activities. There is letter recognition. So there's a difference there, right? Letter recognition and the phonetic recognition. Sound symbol association, skill-focused writing of both letters and words. So at the beginning, it will be letters, later it will be words. So the formation and everything, and letter and word reading. Coming to reading, this is what I was saying that I'll do it in the next slide. Reading, types of reading. So there's reading aloud, shared reading, there's guided reading, and there's independent reading. And each of these has its place. The reason all of these are equally important is that we need to become aware that there are various different kinds of learners in our class. Remember, I was the one who was talking about inclusion yesterday. So we need to make them feel included. And for that, we need to give them diverse ways of presenting the same information. And finally, writing, modeled writing. This is where the teacher writes and you kind of just change the topic slightly and try to write on your own. Shared writing, where there is collaboration. Guided writing, where the teacher kind of gives, in Hindi, we often say, right, dhache pe se kahani. That kind of writing. And independent writing, where only a prompt is given and the child writes on their own. So those are the strategies for literacy, which is reading and writing, and oracy, which is speaking and listening. With that, I come to the end of the language section. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Otherwise, I would like to pass the screen back on to sir.
Yeah, so it was really, like an exquisite presentation, I should say, because the way you have put all together, especially the important elements and LSRW skills are, something that is brought into picture always when we discuss about languages. So very well you have put up all together, and you have made us also feel better while listening to it. So thank you, Mrs. Iyer. And now let me request one of the English teachers whom I admire a lot for her language skills, especially. Ma'am is the principal of Sagar Public School, Bhopal, and she is none other than Mrs. Aarti Khillim, also the advisor of SNTTC, to add a few more points along with Jyoti's to this session today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jyoti ma'am. It was wonderful listening to you. And anyhow, I must say that I'll be voicing all the language teachers when you had given all the strategies. And the way you have summarized, it is quite clear that multilingual proficiency has to be there. And by grade 10, students must be proficient in 3 languages, with at least 2 being native Indian language. I mean, a native Indian language should be available as a medium of instruction up to grade 12 has to be there. It has to be there so that comprehension becomes easier. And literacy should be first acquired in a familiar language, usually the mother tongue. Though we try to give, as you said, the best vocabulary has to be there, expression has to be there, but now things are getting clearer what exactly is required. Students must study at least 2 languages, when one of which must be native to India. Then, talking about communication and literacy, language education fosters skills in communication, writing, discussion, creativity, and most important is literacy, literary appreciation. Yes, it has to be there. Then I can say language learning is tied to cultural immersion, encourage engagement with India's rich oral and written traditions. Thank you so much for giving us all the strategies which are required for literacy and oracy. It was wonderful. Thank you, sir, for arranging all these things. I'm sure teachers, it is going to benefit us a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much for summing up all those things once again, ma'am. Now, let me call upon the next resource person. It's none other than Mrs. Saima Siddiqui. Maths teachers are known for, their calculative spirit towards everything. So I'm not at all wondered that Saima ma'am has come with several calculations today as to create an awareness about what to speak, what NCF has clearly said about mathematics education. And no doubt she is going to spill all those points for all the teachers over here. The stage is all yours, ma'am.
Good evening to all the learned educators present here, and thank you so much, sir. So, dear educators, in this section of NCF, the NCF is suggesting about various subjects, how various subjects can be taught, what are the challenges that teachers and the students face in all the subjects. It also suggests various teaching methodologies which can be adopted to make the learning of these subjects very interactive for the student and easy for the teachers. So this part of the NCF is all about teaching various subjects. So as you have seen in the previous one, it was about language literacy. Now I'll be speaking on the mathematics education. So just want to know in the chat box, how many of you, like maths? You can answer. If you like it, you write yes. If no, you write no. How many of you like mathematics as a subject? Please write yes or no. Waiting for your answers, dear audience. Okay. So most of you are answering yes. Great, 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 great. Oh, so I can see, many people who like mathematics in this group. That's great. So what is mathematics basically? Mathematics basically is about study of patterns, how nature, how technology, and daily life, how we can use mathematics. It is essential for developing logical thinking skills among students, how we can develop the problem solving skills in our students, how can they do clear communication about their thoughts. I mean, mathematics is everywhere, we say. With the growing importance of the field like AI, we see artificial intelligence everywhere, there is mathematics and data science. The quality of maths education is vital for the India's future. When we teach mathematics well, both can be enjoyable and the lifelong passion. So the next slide. Yes. So mathematics education is all about, developing the logical and the problem solving skills in the student. This means teaching them to analyze situations, making decisions, and reason through smaller challenges that they can face. For example, if the student learn to break down problems into simple problems or simple steps, the child will be able to solve the problem easily. The child can focus on developing the reasoning and logical thinking. Now, what? As we see that, many students are scared of mathematics. There is they are not that happy with the subject. They are not, there's a fear in their heart about. So as a teacher, we should make the subject joy.
Hi, Mama. Are you there?
Yes, yes, sir.
You
I don't
weren't
know.
audible
I
for a
was,
while. Yes,
am
yes,
I audible
continue.
now?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
I
you are
was
audible.
talking about joyful exploration of mathematics. Yes, math should feel like an exciting adventure for the student. It should not be a nightmare for the student. As a teacher, it is our responsibility to make the subject very joyful in the classroom by introducing many activities which students like. Something which is very interactive to them, wherein they are able to relate mathematics in their daily lives. So this is how we can make the subject very joyful for them. We can also introduce some gamification of mathematics. We can have quizzes in the class so that every child in the classroom is able to interact and able to participate in the activities and able to grasp the subject in a very joyful manner. Now, how we can encourage the student to appreciate the beauty and elegance of mathematics? As I said, that mathematics is not only about numbers. It is about everywhere there is mathematics. Students should also feel that how elegant, how beautiful the mathematics is. They can explore their environment. They can see the symmetrical nature, the leaves of the plant, and they can understand that maths is not only about numbers. It is about how beautiful the subject is. Now there are certain stages. As we have read earlier, also we have been talking about foundational stages, preparatory stages, middle stages. So there is a basic learning level for all these stages. At foundational stage, the student should learn at least basic numeracy and pattern recognition. The child is able to recognize the shapes, the child is able to recognize the numbers. So this is enough for a child at the foundational stage to learn about this subject. As we move on to the next level, that is preparatory stage, the child should be able to understand the addition, subtraction. The child should be able to differentiate between shapes. The child should be able to identify between bigger and the smaller, the longer and the shorter. And as we come and move on to the next stage, that in middle stage, the subject becomes more complex. That now it will include algebra, it will include geometry, data handling, and basic statistics. It will also include. Again, it will move. If we'll move on to the higher stage, that is secondary stage, the subject becomes more advanced, where concepts like calculus, trigonometry, and mathematical modelings are introduced. Okay, just want to know from you in the chat box, what do you like about mathematics? What is something which you like about the subject? Where do you use mathematics in your daily life? You can unmute yourself and answer, or you can also write it in the chat box. Where do you use mathematics in daily life?
When we go out to the bazaar and purchase the vegetables, fruits.
Correct. Yes. So this is how we can also tell the student the real life applications of the subject. Yes.
Measuring
Solving.
for the recipe, for preparing food, to measure the groceries,
Yes.
how many
Yes.
grams,
So
how
we
many
have to
spoons.
encourage the students that how maths can be applied in the real life experiences. For example, ask them how they can use mathematics in cooking, how they can, use mathematics in shopping, and tell them to think about various places. The way I have asked you, that can be asked in the class, so that they understand that maths is not only a subject which is taught in the class, which the teacher is teaching on the board and we just have to grasp it. they should understand the real life application of the subject. They should explore and, use their critical thinking and, think about the subject. What are the real life applications of the subject? Yes, sir. Next slide. Counting, reasoning is also maths, correct? Now, some more pedagogical approaches in mathematics, interactive and engaging methods. How can we make mathematics more engaging? What are some basic ideas or some basic methodologies that can be integrated in our regular classroom teaching to make the subject more interesting for the student? One can be use of puzzles. When we give certain puzzles to the students, it enhances or give them time to explore about the puzzle and give them some critical thinking skills. Also, as I said, that gamification of the subjects, like there are various games available online that can be used, or you can also create some games like flashcards also that can be introduced in the class, which will make the subject very interesting for the student. Also, you as a teacher can include, what NCF suggests as a teacher of mathematics can introduce some real life scenarios to teach the concepts. Some hands-on experiences like measuring objects. If there is, a table in the classroom, you can tell the student to measure the length and the breadth. So this is how, they can explore their surroundings, they can explore their environment, and will be able to find out that maths is everywhere, and they can, use their estimation and distances, and they can collaborate with the collaboration of the group and problem solving that can also be done. Like students can visit mathematics lab wherein they can actually see the concepts happening in front of their eyes. Now, how to promote the positive maths attitude in the student? Like you must have seen, students saying, even, elder people say that, maths is the greatest nightmare for me. For me, maths is not my cup of tea. So this is, something which is prevailing everywhere, even in the student, and which is making it more difficult for the student to understand the subject. And they are not very welcome. They are not welcoming the subject to understand the concept. So this is as a responsibility as a teacher. It is our responsibility to eliminate the anxiety of the subject through confidence building. Now, how can you build the confidence in the student? By narrating some stories, by narrating your real life stories, or narrating the story of someone who was afraid of mathematics initially, and then later on the person developed the interest in the subject and started liking the subject, and with gradually the person excelled in the subject. So narrating stories in the class is going to help. Also, the teachers can mention or quote about famous mathematicians, how they have explored certain mathematical concepts and what they had been doing in their childhood, and later on they kept on exploring and discovering new theories and new theorems and axioms in the mathematics, and they were able to give new discoveries to the world. Emphasize on the process oriented learning rather than result. As a mathematics teacher, one should see what process or the procedure the child has adopted, not only focusing on the result or the answer of the question that has been given by the teacher. The teacher should at least see what procedure the child has adopted. What has he done to reach the answer? He must be true to one step or two steps. The teacher should see the procedure, what he has applied, where he has applied his knowledge, which concept he has applied. Now about assessment. Regular feedback by the student and by the teacher is very important, because feedback is included in the procedure. Feedback is not the final term that is obtained. So during the teaching, if the teacher is taking the feedback from the student, or if the teacher is giving the feedback to the student, both will be beneficial. If the teacher is taking the feedback from the student, it will be a benefit for the teacher. That means the teacher will be able to analyze and understand how much the child is able to grasp what her teaching methodology is right, that a majority of the class is able to understand, or and if not, then the teacher can change the teaching methodology. In the same way, if the teacher is giving the feedback to the child, then the child will be able to understand where the child is lagging and where he has to or she has to improve. Yes, sir. Next slide. Some more pedagogical approaches in mathematics is basic numeracy. These are fundamental skills like counting, basic operations, which are necessary for all the mathematics learning. So basic numeracy, counting. If a child at this stage is able to count and is familiar with the numbers, then the child will be able to grasp the further concepts of mathematics easily. Now, mathematical thinking. Teaching students to think critically and analytically helps them to apply the maths in various fields of life. They can apply this subject in their real life scenario. Next is about problem solving. The teacher should, it should be able to make a child understand that maths is not about only solving problems. Developing problem solving skill is crucial. Students should learn to approach the challenges symmetrically and systematically. The next is about joy and curiosity and wonder. The teacher should instill the curiosity in the children, the joy of learning mathematics in the children. So these are certain pedagogical approaches that the teacher should adopt in the classes to make the learning more interesting for the students. Yes, sir. Next slide. The time lack of foundational numeracy and mathematical truth. Yes, the time lack of foundational numeracy and mathematical truth is like, maths is something which had been introduced. There are certain facts, there are certain axioms and theorems which had been proved in past, but then it is true now also and will be true in future also. Then the teacher should instill the creativity and the intuition in mathematics. Like we have seen many famous mathematicians, they have done many discoveries in the subject. Why and how? Because they were able to identify their problem based on the intuitions. So it is about intuition also. It is not only a subject which tells about numbers, it has creativity also in it. Maths can also be related to arts and science. Yes, sir. Next slide. Yes. Now there are certain challenges which students and teachers face while teaching and learning of these subjects. One is about lack of foundational numeracy. Many students struggle with basic skills, like which can lead to the frustration of the lack of confidence in mathematics. They don't know the numbers. They don't know what are prime numbers. They don't know what are even numbers. They don't know what are integers. So this is just a basic concept of mathematics. If they don't know these basics, they will struggle for in grasping further concepts of mathematics. Now, procedure versus creativity. Now we need to balance teaching students to solve problem with encouraging them to think critically about mathematics, connecting it with the real life context and symbolic languages, assessment as a rote learning. And then the fear of mathematics has to be eliminated from the minds of the students. Yes, sir. Next slide. Now, some suggested method which NCS suggests how the fear of maths can be eliminated from the mind of the student. Number one is we can have a playway-based activity method. Like there are many. Can anyone suggest what are some playway-based method that can be adopted to make the subject more interesting and to eliminate the fear of the subject from the minds of the student? Can anyone mention about any playway, be it of your subject, not only on mathematics, any playway or game-based activity?
If we talk about tables, like, for lower classes or counting numbers with the help of dance, action with the action also, they can learn, faster and enjoy that concept of numeracy. And,
Yes, yes, great,
Yeah.
great. This is one. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and we can ask them to, draw or, put some things and ask them to count, like around whatever things are there in the surrounding. They can just go and count. If we ask the number of girls, so randomly, like, asking them to count the number of girls, number of boys, stand like 5 girls, stand 3 boys, like different ways we can come across with the playway method of at the fundament, that is what we foundational stage, like learning of numeracy, we can say. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Great, great, great. The next is inquiry-based method. Can anyone tell me what is inquiry-based method?
It's asking questions like, we have to
Correct,
ask
correct.
them, inquiry. We have to inquire them by asking. It's not like one way, it's like two ways. We have to ask and they have to answer. We can start in this way.
Yes, inquiry-based method, definitely, ma'am, you're correct. It is about encouraging student to ask questions so that they're able to explore the answers. This approach fosters the curiosity and deeper understanding in the student. The next is about problem-solving method. Encourage student to tackle real-life word problems, and then they do. Let's not tell them the problem also. Tell them to explore the surroundings, find about the problem, and when they find the problem, tell them to solve the problem. The next is inductive and deductive method. Both approaches to help student discover the concept and apply them logically. And competency based questions can be introduced in the class, wherein a student will be able to understand how they can apply the concept which have been taught to them in the classroom. So all these methods can be adopted in teaching mathematics, and there are certain challenges which can definitely be overcome. So this was all about mathematics, numeracy, and education. Yes, sir. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much,
Anyone
Saima ma'am.
else want to add on? Sir? Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Saima
Thank
ma'am.
you so much, sir.
That was indeed a wonderful presentation, and it was a need of the hour as well, because we see many teachers and educators who are completing their bachelor's of education and who are getting into schools and like colleges. They are just trying to showcase math as a subject which just needs lots of practice with the pen on the paper. But along with that, they're forgetting that it is a basic skill that has to be taught to the students. And what can we do as to bring the students out of the fear zone towards maths that they have got? And you were very, very specific towards that. And you were very, I should say, you were, you have shown that professional skills of a math teacher by bringing up such wonderful points for everyone. Indeed, you deserve lots of appreciations for your work today. No doubt about it. Thank you so much. And now let me call upon Mrs. Abhilasha Verma for the next part of the session, that is science education.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, sir. Am I audible, sir? Okay. So, dear educators, dear participants, my part is science education. So, English, maths, and now it's science. So, can anybody tell me that what comes in your mind when you think about this subject? Please mention in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and say, what first thing comes to your mind when you think about or listen about this word or the subject? Okay, nature and environment, good. Related to world around, great. All right, wonderful. So according to NCF, the definition given in this document is like science is the study of natural and physical world around us through a systematic process of observing, questioning, forming hypotheses, testing hypotheses through experiments, analyzing evidences, and thereby continuously revising our knowledge. So learning science enables us to gain valid knowledge about the world as well as acquire scientific values, capacities, and dispositions such as curiosity, creativity, evidence-based learning, and sound decision making. So the core science goals, what does it say? That it builds curiosity about the natural world through hands-on exploration. So if we say about the foundational stage, the best way of teaching science is through observation. So what all methods, any primary teacher is there, you can ask that, you can just mention in the chat box or unmute yourself and say that what all methods in foundational stage do you use for teaching them science? Because first time there will be English and maths and languages. What are the things, how do you inculcate the subject science in the students? Anybody? All right. So when we teach them science, you show them the things around them. You take them to the kitchen garden or outing or zoo or park, and you show them small things around them. So this way you can, in the foundational stage, you can inculcate the knowledge of science. And also in middle stage and secondary stage, it will be little more or advanced. And as the subject, the science draws significantly from the disciplines of biology, chemistry, physics, earth sciences, as well as from mathematics, computer, social science, and also vocational education. The integration part will be there, and it also provides the interdisciplinary understanding and appreciation of the role of science in everyday life. So in foundational stage, the key focus will be on observing and interacting with the environment. In middle stage, the branches will be biology, physics, chemistry, earth sciences, and in secondary stage, it will be more advanced scientific theories, application in real life and contents. So what are the mini science experiments with small experiments according to the different stages, we can inculcate the science education in the students. Sir, next slide. Next one. Okay. So what is the aim of science education? The scientific understanding of the world through the observations, experiments, and principles. And it builds the systematic and verifiable knowledge through capacities for scientific inquiry, understanding the evolution of scientific knowledge, then interdisciplinary understanding between science and other curricular areas, understanding of relationship between science, technology, and society, and scientific temper, like developing the capacities for evidence-based thinking. And obviously, all these things will lead to creative thinking skills. So the question comes that how can you inculcate the interest of science in the students? Dear participants, can you please share your views that how do you inculcate the knowledge of science in students? Can anybody volunteer? Okay,
Hello, ma'am. Can I?
Practical approach. Yes, ma'am. Please, ma'am.
Ma'am, we can, the sense of the feeling of the sense of wonder when we tell them to observe things around them. Like you
Yes.
said, we take them on a nature walk. We
Yes.
tell them to observe the natural phenomena around them, the weather around them. These are all the things which will raise their curiosity towards science, and they would like to know more about things. What is happening around them?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely right. Thank you so much for volunteering. And it will be more than a rote learning.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you so much.
Absolutely.
So what other things we can do, like hands-on experiments? We can take them to the labs, and using the best part will be using the TLM. So what all TLMs can we use? Labs are there. We can show them the specimens there. And in our real lives, we have so many TLMs with us. Like when I teach in the class, I'll share my few experiences. I'll take a X-ray plate to show them the different part of the bones. Or when we teach liver about the different fulcrum and parts of the liver. So we can take nail cutter. What we can get in our daily routine, which is very easily available. So through research work, we can inculcate them, and we should be up to date. Like, for example, we can tell them about the Atal Tunnel in Rohtang, Himachal Pradesh. And then now recently, Sunita Williams went to space. So the small general knowledge things we can teach in the class so that they get involved in what is happening in our daily life, along with the textbook what we are teaching. So there are different, sir, next slide. So science education and pedagogy, it is inquiry driven learning. I'll go into just read the things. Already I've explained it, hand-on laboratory work and group experiments, project-based learning. So we can give them small projects of like research work, or make a model, or in the school they keep the record books, say they can do some experiments and record those experiments in the book. So when they do the small experiments, they will be able to understand those concepts very easily. So nowadays, what are the current challenges we are facing? So traditional learning, so focus on facts and definitions. We are not making them do it. Learning by doing is most important in science education. So traditional learning, we should come out from this traditional learning. And teachers are nowadays pressurized according to the, this curriculum pressure is there that you have to complete the syllabus. So hands-on experiments, going to the lab, the teachers are just unwillingly, they have to avoid these things due to the syllabus pressure. So in higher education, the entrance exams must be changed to competency-based rather than rote learning. The next one is the disconnection between the school curriculum and what the students observe and experience outside the school. That is, for example, we teach that Earth is, it is very hard to think that Earth is not flat. It is round. And then the most important and very difficult, lack of infrastructure. Many of the schools, they don't have that much of facility for the labs and space for performing the experiments. And then the next challenges, current challenges, what we are facing in science education is progression of chapters from primary level to secondary level. That due to the change of books in the primary level, chapters are not. So the continuation of the chapters of the concepts are not there. So what are the different types of ways we can assess the students? So portfolio based assessment, and including project work, lab experiments, then written assessment, and scientific reason and problem solving skills. And I would like to end my part of presentation by a motivational quote by Mr. APJ Abdul Kalam on science and technology. The science is a beautiful gift to humanity. We should not distort it. The ignited mind of the youth is the most powerful resource on the earth, above the earth and under. Thank you, everyone. Any questions? Anybody has any question or any views to be shared, like how you can, how you teach science in the class?
I suppose that was very clear, Mrs. Abhilasha. And I should say
Thank you,
that
sir.
that was indeed a wonderful presentation, wherein you have brought into the picture of what is happening nowadays. You know, speaking about the curriculum and the pressure, especially when science is a vast subject, the concepts are to be taught right from the basic level. Okay, it takes lots of time, and teachers actually have this pressure of completing the syllabus in time. And that's the reason, as per NCF, even reduction of syllabus is also going on these days. So
Yes, sir.
it was definitely a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. And let me call upon the
Thank you so
last
much.
resource person of the day, Mrs. Jayavani Jayaraman, as to give you insights from the NCF 2023 about social sciences.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Now, I'm so excited to explore the fascinating world of social science education, actually. So, social science is a systematic study of human society that explores the relation between the individuals and society. And when we talk about the social science education implementation in the curriculum, is the purpose to help the students to learn about the society in which they live, how they interact with the nearby, how they speak, how they behave, how they talk, how they express themselves toward the society. For example, a small thing, if I say, when we talk about the food culture, if anybody asks me, because I'm from the state of Tamil Nadu, if anybody asks me, what did you eat in the morning? I'll be saying, I ate idli and sambar. The person from the Kerala will say puttu and kadalakari. And the person from the North India, they'll say paratha or romali or roti, like that. So even the food culture differs from region to region. So a simple concept finally about social science education helps the students to develop pride in their culture and their country with their forward looking spirit of continuity to improve as an individual and as a society and as a nation. So the purpose of social science education is to have the Indian heritage and the pride and carry among themselves. So when we talk about the key discipline of social science, emphasizes the various fields that study the human behavior, relationships, and social structure. So these disciplines include the human culture, diversity, evolution, everything. But when we talk about the foundational stage, we never used to have a subject called social. When we comes to the middle ages, when we comes to the preparatory stage also, we used to have EVS, environmental studies. But when we talk about the middle school stage, on that time, the disciplines of the social science includes history, geography, political science, economics, where we have to take the students in multitask of understanding each and every concept. For example, how to teach history in the sense, we'll ask, what's your grandfather's name? They'll say immediately, ma'am, my grandfather's name. Is it a paternal parent or maternal? They all will be telling. But if you ask about grandfather's grandfather, they'll have a pause. What is the name of the grandfather's father's name? They'll have a pause. So where we have to inculcate them about the history is a study of the events and the culture and about the past, about the past. So when we talk about the geography, which analyzes the spatial relations, environment, and global connections. And we talk about the political science, we just integrates about the govern politics. Who is the chief minister of Karnataka? Who's the Prime Minister of India? What policies they have implemented when the budget has been framed? What is a local panchayat? All such things regarding the society we have to teach. When we talk about economics, the economic activity system of various resources allocation of market activities also to be taught. So apart from this, we have so much of key discipline, which includes the social studies. Additionally, anthropology is there, linguistic is there, demography is there. Like that, it goes on when we talk about the discipline, and that never ends about it. So each of particular subject will explore about the society. That is very sure. So can you give, apart from this key disciplines, can any one of you say what are the key disciplines of social science? Anyone? You can unmute yourself and you can say, or you can just type the text, right? Anyone else? No one's. Okay. So when we talk about this key discipline, how to be taught inside the curriculum, in the sense we have to take it as a debate session. Yeah, thank you, Manisha Gupta ma'am, at least Mansi Gupta ma'am, at least you say, yeah, psychology. So when we talk about this activity, when we talk about how to teach about this curriculum in the school campus, in the sense by taking an activity or project or debate on social issues. Because when we talk about this, no, we have to give them a real life experiences of what they have been going to teach, what they are going to be learned. So for an example, if we take climate change, we have to tell about what type of debate sections can be taken for this climate change. As individual action or of government policy, you tell me the topic for any other things. For example, the debate section topic may be of social media. Does the social media promotes a good environment, a good society, or it makes the society to be put down? Like that, we can give many other debate sections also, make interesting in their class atmosphere. When we talk about the thematic learning, actually, when we talk about the thematic learning, it always approaches, prepares the students to navigate the complex global issues, think critically, and become active participants in shaping better future. So thematic learning encourage always students in real world applications, critical thinking and problem solving, and it always links to topics to contemporary social issues such as inequality, climate change. Inequality in the sense we can tell about gender inequality, we can tell about the reserved quotas is there or not, or we can say inequality means whether rich or poor, or there are many things we can say. Can you give me any examples about the contemporary of social issues right now, what we are just having it? Anybody else? Okay. So when we talk about this economic development and inequality, we have to analyze the growth, and we have to tell about, yeah, Ukraine war, yeah, Ukraine-Russia war, yeah, casteism. Yes, we can talk about communalism, casteism, gender equality, everything. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for a response. So all these thematic learning is very important. So stage by stage, it helps us to develop the children to understand the concept really. So when we talk about the critical thinking in social science, it always will be having a debate or discussions or research-based projects. We used to give the projects. So what type of projects will be based upon their curricular goals? We'll be giving them the projects, or we'll be having a group activity, or we'll be having a group discussions, and we'll tell them, and we'll have a debate section always. For example, if we just take about the electoral politics lesson in grade 9, we used to split them into groups, and we'll say that you belongs to this X party, you belongs to this Y party, you belongs to this X party, and now you can just tell your campaigns procedures, how will you do all such things. So their children will be very eagerly interested to do all such procedures, and they used to come out from it. And when we talk about this analyzing of historical events, no, it is really a tough job. And when we talk about this historical events, no, the teacher, history teacher especially, faces a tough job. That means she faces a very critical situations. Yes, ma'am. Discussion, ongoing elections, advertisements, and campaigns. Yes, ma'am. So when we talk about this historical events, no, even the students, at least they like geography and economics, political. When we take history, no, ma'am, history are you going to teach like that? They'll be, because it history concept is of memorizing the events, dates, all such things. So for making them to understand about the events all, we should give them a project, and we should make them to not rote memorizing. We should make them to understand the concept when we are teaching the history lessons. And how come we'll assessment this history, geography, or economics, civics all? We'll have group projects separately. As usual, we have the analyzing periods of essays. We have the project works, group projects, And according to that, we'll give a subtopics of the case studies also on social justice, like that, any other case study. So that what they used to know, they'll have a case study. For example, if we can give so much of case studies, we can give. Take the case study of the economic system of a certain place, or take the case study of the population. Take the case study of the various changes in your society. So the children will be very interested. So all these things also we can take it as an assessment in the social science. The next slide, sir. So when we talk about cross-disciplinary integration, yes, always integration is a very important thing in the social science, because we'll take an example of environmental challenges or whatever it may be. We always bring science and maths in the social science also. How it is possible to bring the subject of maths and science in social? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. How in the sense? Because it fosters an inclusive society where diverse individuals and groups can thrive together. For example, if we teach about the climatic change, we have to implement the concept of maths over here. Calculate the carbon footprint or temperature rise projection, like that. We have to tell about the maths theme over here. And when we talk about the science about the climatic change, we have to understand the greenhouses effect of the greenhouses gases and their effects. And all these will be combined in the social science, analyzing the social issues or responsible of an individual or a society has in the development of our locality. So integration of all the subjects, in no other subject it will be there, only in social science it is. We'll take another example of cross-disciplinary integration through a topic water scarcity. If we take about water scarcity also, in maths we have to add about the measuring of water usage, calculating the supplies and demands, all such things. And the same water scarcity we'll be studying through hydrological process in science. And combinedly, we'll examine the access of we'll be having the examining access to have a clean water, pollution free, everything we'll be having. So cross integration in none other subject it will be there, only in social science it plays a very vital role. And when we tell about the emphasis on multidisciplinary projects, it always integrates the knowledge from various subjects. For example, already I told you about the language, science, maths, and social science is all an integrated process. For preparing the students, they always will interconnect about the social issues in the sense global issues. Can you tell anybody else? Can you tell about the global issues which can be taken to the children about the multidisciplinary projects? You can text me if you are not just raising your voice at least.
Global warming.
Yes, ma'am.
Global warming.
Yes, global warming, exactly correct, ma'am. Then, ma'am, and anybody else? Global warming is there. Then, election democracy is what you said is right. Then,
reduce, reuse.
Reduce, reuse, and recycle. Yes. Yes, Indra Sharma, ma'am. I want to add one thing, ma'am, while we teach social science. Wait, let me read out what you said. It's not reflecting.
Civic responsibilities.
Yes, ma'am. Civic responsibilities. Yeah, history, political. So we must add examples of Indian thinkers rather than Western political thinkers. We can learn from Western culture, but need to spread Indian culture and need to teach the children about the importance of Indian culture and value. Exactly, you are right, ma'am. But when we talk about the curriculum, we'll have Indian thinkers also and Western thinker also. When we talk about the nationalism in Europe, we'll talk about the nationalism in India. So our curriculum is around the global only. It is not specifically only the Indian culture we'll be reading. We'll be reading about the Western culture also. Exactly when we talk about the history, that's what the students always will be getting. confused about what is this. Actually, it is a Western culture. Even in India, we are following this, that, this. Now we are just speaking in English. This is also implemented by the British only for us. This is also a type of Western education only what we are doing it right now. Yes. Then this emphasis of multidisciplinary, it integrates the knowledge in various systems. The next slide, sir. So what conclusion we take away from this social science education, in the sense, this curriculum is designed to nurture the critical thinking, creativity, ethical values, and emphasizes well-rounded development through integrated disciplines. First, we should respect each other. We also wants to be dignified, and we should respect each other culture. And from home itself, the ethical values we started, and in schools, it will be very creatively implemented by the teachers. So the scholastic learning is very important, and the real world applications, when we teach the social science, always the teacher should try to give the real life examples, because we are not teaching biology, we cannot take them to biological lab. We are not taking computer science, we cannot take them to sit in front of the computer and just do that, this all. So real life of examples has to be given to the children when we teach, especially the history. We can relate from the past to the present. When we take about the geography, about what they have been used, the resources in the previous one towards today. And when we talk about the political science, what type of democracy is being used in the previous and today. Like that, we have to have the differentiator between each and everything. So a difference between, actually, when we talk about this real world experiences to teach about the children, we have to compare the past and the present. Then only they'll come to understand about what we are being teaching to them. I think so everybody will accept, because suppose any teachers are over here is a social science teacher, you will really accept what I'm trying to tell. So when we teach to the children, definitely we have to compare with the real life and the past, so that it will be easy for them to understand, and they will learn about the logical and critical and problem solving methods. So social science education is really very interesting, and what to say, it is really yes, an education which where we used to have it in the worldwide. That's it, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really the need of the hour, because, as you said, there is a common notion among the students that social science is a boring subject. That is because it has not been taken into the students properly, and they are not made aware about the importance of social science as a subject. Because through history, we try to know our roots, through geography, we know our surroundings, and through political science, we know the rights and the duties of a citizen, as well as through economics, whatnot. There are several things to learn, even how to live. I suppose social science is all about life skills. And I feel very proud to speak so much about social sciences, because I myself am a social science teacher. So, yes, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation, ma'am. And here we have come to an end with today's
Yes, ma'am, you are right. We have to teach.
Here we have come with today's, here we have come to an end with today's session. Thank you one and all for joining us. And as you all know, the process of collecting the certificate, those who would like to collect the certificate need to forward 50 rupees to this number, 9908925730. You can send it via GPay, PhonePe, or Paytm. Along with the screenshot, kindly send your name and add, that Miss or Mrs. as you want, so that we can give it to you properly the way you need. And you will be getting it in 24 hours. If you are doing today in the night, you will be getting by tomorrow in the evening. So that's all for today. Thank you one and all for being here. We'll meet tomorrow in the 4th day session. Yes.
Sir, may I say something?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Sir, I missed 2 sessions because I'm not well. So how can I get that session?
Ma'am, we'll be posting all our recordings on the YouTube channel. So our YouTube channel's name is Sri Narayani Teacher Training Center. As you go and type, even in Google, you will be shown with all the videos of the training center. So immediately you can access for it. On daily basis, we are uploading the videos.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So that's all for today. Let us all meet tomorrow again in a wonderful session. Yeah.